Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Wave podcast here at the Culture Wave Media Network. And tonight we are back discussing episode 5 of season 2 of Severance. I am one of your hosts. My name is Darian Scalamoni. I am joined as always by Liz Seiko.
What's happening?
And Michael Peniston.
Hello, everyone.
So lots to cover with this, as we have so much to talk about every single week with Severance. Arguably the best show on TV. There's so much. There's just so much. And I feel like we should just dive in.
Let's do it.
There's a lot of things we can obviously cover. We're gonna hop around a lot. I want to shout out. I'm gonna start with something that maybe is on the top of people's minds when it comes to this episode, but it's not the general crew.
Mm-hmm.
Milchick has such a heavy influence on this episode. Tramell Tillman has been maybe the unsung MVP of this season. He's been incredible. Obviously, a boosted role. Getting his promotion, and we see the repercussions of what that has in this episode. But there's a lot, and I want to start with just the interesting relationship between him and Miss Huang, because it just caught me by surprise, and it was great. It was such an interesting part of the episode, and obviously he has even maybe a little bit of his own PTSD from the aftermath of what happened in the end of last week's episode. And he has to deal with the repercussions of now Helly R is going to have to be reinstituted back as the innie. So, Michael, I want to start with you this time and just discuss like Milchick in this episode, Miss Huang's not question that she poses, and kind of where you stand with him at the end of this episode and when we started to see what was happening with Milchick.
Yeah, sure. Milchick is slowly becoming one of my goats. I think I'm slowly watching the turn as we addressed last week happen. And it's weird. It's like a 50-50 thing where you could tell he's really, really like into and like for the approval of the Egan's and like now these rules that come with it and everything. But at the same time, there was like a very small moment that we got with, what was her name? Natalie. And where he kind of asked her about that weird photo, and you could almost tell that she had nothing to do or hadn't received, or it wasn't the same sort of treatment. And he picked up on that, and so you could really clearly tell that something's going on with Milchick, and I'm very excited because this guy is crazy, and so I'm really excited about that with Miss Huang. That whole thing. I don't really know. It was just like kind of a weird moment. I think Miss Huang being a child in general is just off-putting to me. So any sort of interaction I see with her and anybody in this building is just kind of weird. As far as I don't really know what I have to say to it.
Has just a deeper layer with the fact that she's a child. Like every time she's saying something off-putting to somebody, you're like, this girl's like 12. Like, what is happening? But it intimidates Milchick in that moment of being like, you're giving your opinion. Like, I don't no. And you're also seeing kind of the parallels between him and Patricia Arquette's character. It's escaping me right now. You know what I'm talking about? Like, what's her character name? I forget. Cobel.
Yeah.
Yes. So you're seeing the parallels of like him now being in the power structure of like where he's at, and Milchick never kind of fought back against her. Like he never really was like, I don't think we should be doing this
Against Cobel.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
At least not what I remember from season 1.
I don't remember him doing
So
that.
for Miss Huang to now present this kind of counterpart to what he's trying to do, and he's trying to make everybody happy, and it all starts with the funeral, obviously. There's just a lot there with the layers of that, and then Miss Huang reporting him like is also crazy. So Did you have anything on that, or Milchick in general?
It's also interesting her comment of like, I don't remember the exact wording, but she's pretty much like, you shouldn't let them do this. Like you should
let them treat them like people.
Yeah.
And she said they should have a funeral as well.
Yeah, she's like, we shouldn't have this funeral. And so it's interesting because right off the bat, then she has a negative connotation about the innies and doesn't see them as actual people, which then to me makes it seem like she really is just a product of Lumon and that she isn't leaving at all.
Some people are saying online that she might have been literally manifested from Lumon.
She gives me robotic vibes.
Yes.
Like also when you look at her face, there's no emotion. It's literally just like dead inside and fake smiling.
Yeah.
A part of me also thinks maybe they made her to then be Milchick's like predecessor, and that she eventually will take over his role, because clearly she doesn't see him as being a power figure to her. She feels like she can just say whatever she wants, and that she is like his equivalent. So I don't know. Her character showed a lot this episode, and I think that it also, by showing us a lot about her, they're showing us a lot about Lumon and possibly what's going on with them, of like cloning, not cloning, rebirth, not rebirth. There's a lot of questions still, but slowly they're unraveling like the onion layers.
Yeah, I think so. Well, let's talk about the eulogy and the funeral scene. The funeral scene, I guess, in general, and just wanting that from these characters, wanting that obviously when we lose Irving, with him having to be permanently let go on a fantastic cruise voyage. And I love the scene between the innies and Milchick towards the beginning of the episode.
When they're just going at
Yeah,
it.
they're like, this is bullshit. Like, this is bullshit. Like, where is he? Is he actually dead? And the fact that Milchick is also honest with you had predicted early on in the season that you thought that Milchick could have been a potential like joining of forces with them. I'm starting to get a little more interested in that theory because I feel like it could happen. But there's also a part of me that's like, it might be Cobel. Like, Cobel, we haven't even seen in weeks. We know obviously she was walking away. I might have just stolen Liz's thunder with that because I think you probably want to talk about it. Do you want to bring that up?
No, keep going. I want to keep hearing your thoughts.
I just think that there's going to be an uprising. Like, it's going to have to happen, and they're going to need the help of somebody else on the outside. And all the dots are starting to connect now. Like, everybody has someone on the outside right now, except for Helena.
Yeah.
But like, even Milchick now has this relationship with Natalie, which is really interesting. Cobel obviously is an outsider in and of herself. Mark has his sister. Irving and Bert, we get a reuniting in this episode, which we'll obviously get to. Dylan and his wife. Like, there's so many people now that can kind of join this feeling of a lot of people, in the beginning of the series, have very strong opinions of the severance process. And it's going to have to be broken down at some point. Now, that's not going to happen, obviously, by the end of the season because it's already been renewed for season 3. But I just think it's interesting with all that. Did you have anything on that?
I don't think that Milchick is actually going to team up with them. I think there was a chance of him doing that, but I don't know, just from kind of the behavior that we see later in this episode of him.
Yes. The ending of the
episode where he does say that he's going to put the law down essentially and kind of goes at Mark. I think he's realizing that he's like, no, I can't treat these people nice anymore. Like, I need to take care of myself and take care of my job, because I think in a way Milchick is also seeing maybe how disturbing Lumon actually is, and maybe he's even getting a little scared that he doesn't know the full scope of what Lumon is, and so he can't help these people. He needs to protect himself at the end of the day.
It's funny that that's how you read that scene too, because I got that same sort of vibe with the whole him presenting, especially that moment between him and Mark. But at the same time, when he asked that one question that I'm sure we all, just up front, like you and Helena. Exactly. To me, I almost got he's going to try and use this to go against the Egans at some point.
Okay.
He wants him to have that information.
Yeah.
That he's also aware of it, that it happened.
Yeah, that she was fully in that state of mind too, that Egan state of mind, So, I don't know.
I mean, there's a lot of ramifications for that, for what happened with Ortbo. I mean, obviously, there's the whole aspect of just the fact that Mark is cheating on Helly with Helena, which is so complicated in and of itself. Even though they weren't really a thing, they weren't an official item. They obviously had feelings for each other at the end of this season. They made it clear to one another that when they were doing their mission at the end of season 1, that they wanted to kiss again, to be like, if something happens, So, you have something on this?
It's just all such a mind fuck at the end of the day, because it's he's cheating on Helly with Helena, but then in the whole scope, he's also cheating on his actual wife, Miss Casey, with all of them. But
Who we thought was dead.
We thought was dead, but then it's there are two, and then it kind of just gets into the conversation of like, are these actually two different people at the end of the day? Like, is Mark being severed two different people? Is Helena being severed two different people? Helly clearly thinks it is, and that's kind of why she gets so not aggressive, I want to say, but she's definitely emotional this episode, because she's like, wait a minute, she doesn't have that right to use my body, even though we share the same body. So I think we're going to really start getting into the question of, are the innies and outies two separate people, or are the same person because they share the same body?
Yeah, well, I think it's
like so mental and so hard to like dissect.
It's so complicated because the last time we see Helly R, obviously she is embodying Helena on this stage, and then the next time she's woken up, she's being drowned.
Well, that's the thing.
Which is crazy.
So she's upset. She's like, oh, she didn't have a right. Helly's upset that Helena used her body and pretended to be her. But you could say that they also did that on the outside world. They pretended to be their outies. So I don't know. It's a very mixed up and colluded world right now. And I feel like they're not giving us any answers. They're just giving us little breadcrumbs to like not keep us angry. Yeah. But they're not giving us enough answers yet, and it's annoying.
But this is the way the show does this.
I know.
They do this until the end, and then they give us something at the end, and then they're going to do the same thing. But it's the show. The writing is so good. So
it's brilliant.
It is. It's great. Let's go back to the funeral because we didn't really talk about it. We kind of we went on a whole different path. Obviously, Lumon doing their very Lumon-esque things with
the watermelon head?
Not only the watermelon head, but first the animation.
Oh,
the 8-bit
yeah.
like with the spotlight on Irving. It's like so eerie and so off-putting. Yeah. I will say, I don't know if anybody else got these vibes, but the Irving watermelon kind of looked like the devil. I'm still sticking with the devil vibes. I know nobody else wants to.
I didn't pick up with that.
But
I didn't either.
All right. Well, they could have put a cake out there, but they put a watermelon. Just saying. Might mean something. Regardless.
Is watermelon like...
No, I'm saying just like they picked the red fruit.
Oh,
like what's up with the red? Everything is blue in Lumon except for these interestingly weird dark vibes.
I didn't get that.
All right. Whatever.
I just got that a watermelon's easy to carve.
Yeah, but they could have picked any other fruit that's easy
Yeah,
to
but then
carve.
it wouldn't have been as
What about an ice sculpture? Could have done that.
Didn't they have
But then there's something about eating Irving's face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not going to eat an ice sculpture.
I guess, but why are they even eating Irving's face? That's weird.
Didn't they have like the melon party though in the first season?
Was it a melon party? It was just a fruit party.
Was it just a fruit party?
I think it was. They had the waffle party.
Okay.
But
can't make a waffle into a face. Maybe you could.
I guess you're right, Liz. You can't turn a waffle into a face.
I mean, you could. Just
when
not
you're
like
right, you're right.
Whatever.
When you're right.
Let's move on from freaking watermelon.
The funeral scene, we get that eulogy from Dylan, which I thought was a great scene. It was really great for Zach Cherry's character. Very in with his innie too, and how he feels about Irving and the impact that losing Irving's going to have on him. Excuse me. And then we actually get a little bit of the Miss Huang Milchick thing at the end of that too, because she prepared like a musical thing, right? And then she gets mad at him.
I don't know what the music instrument's called.
Is it a harp?
No,
I didn't see what it was.
It's a thing that she did in the previous episode when they were all around the campfire and she's playing. I don't know the name of the instrument. Do you know it, Michael?
You're a music guy.
I need to like see it again.
It's like
Is it cello?
No, it's like one of those
It's an electric harp?
No, it's like one of those like I don't know.
It's not important.
It's not important. It's not important at
but
all.
The funeral scene in general, how did you feel about all of that and how that was handled, Liz?
I thought it was handled like the way that I kind of expected it to be handled, like very corporate. Like let the people speak how they want to. 9
seconds to mourn your friend.
Yeah.
We'll take 9 seconds to in silence.
They got to get back to work. They got to get back to Cold Harbor being completed at the end of the day.
Yeah.
They're lucky they got the melon head.
You're right, Liz. They are lucky they got the melon head.
They're lucky that they got it. Well, one thing that also was interesting is that Miss Huang said that the funerals are only held for innies that die on the floor.
Yes.
So it's like, what
This
innies
is-
have died on the floor?
That too. But it's also just, it's very out of the norm of what Lumon does.
But also not completely out of the norm where they don't have a protocol.
Yeah, that's true.
Clearly this has happened multiple times where they even say, oh, print the banner. Like they know the steps to do. So how many people have actually died and that they've had to do these funerals for?
Yeah. I don't think we're going to get an answer to that, but it's an
Creepy.
interesting, yeah, it's weird. It's definitely weird. How did you feel about the funeral scene?
It was all just weird. It's all all of these like weird moments where they're like trying to do like team gatherings, and it always just has such like an ominous vibe. It was something about Irv's face on the cups too that just like it was like treated like a party.
I kind of forgot about that, but I loved that detail.
Yeah,
cups.
right?
Yeah.
So
Weird.
But it's just like the way that they go about everything. The eulogy was on par.
Dylan being Dylan.
Yes. Honestly don't even really want to talk too much about that. I want to talk about the Dylan moment after the funeral, because I feel like that's so huge.
Finding the letter you're talking about.
Yes.
Go ahead.
And so I don't know. I just felt like, because we had talked about like the potential of there being more of like a backstory to Irv. I think you brought it up in a previous. I don't remember exactly, but we talked about the idea of maybe. Yeah, it was you. You said like he's been there for a while, or maybe he had like a parent or someone that was maybe attached. And then we had that moment where Dylan turned the hang in there poster, and you saw like this maze. We had kind of seen it before with Irv, but it was. I don't know if you guys stopped it and read it actually, but if you read the first word, it said like from dad.
I remember. I didn't read the whole thing, but I saw from dad.
I saw that too.
Yeah. Okay. So I thought that was huge because like obviously like who the hell is Irv and like his family and like how are they connected to all of this? But also it's another clue. So I was really excited about that.
I wonder how many of those are laying around, because that's another thing we've kind of. I think in the very beginning we were conceptualizing like there has to be, because Mark obviously wants to bring that note. He wanted to place the note to get the rest of his team like outed. Like Lumon, they have all like, and he says this when he talks to Helly. He's like, we can't win. Like they know everything. They know everything. They clearly don't, obviously, because these teams find ways to do things, and then like they obviously didn't know that Irv knew that was Helena the whole time, like that he had that inkling, but it was because she couldn't hold it together. She didn't have the act as Helly good enough. You know what I mean? Did you think of anything with that in particular?
With the note?
Yeah, or like, I guess probably just the note. I also thought it was interesting that Milchick also brought up to Dylan, we finally get a threatening aspect of like watch your words have consequences. Like, you don't want to have specific privileges being taken away. And then Mark kind of looks at him like, what the fuck does that mean? Yeah.
Well, I think finally also Mark, now that he's not completely infatuated with Helly and he's a little bit kind of like, oof, God, I got to get away from her because I don't know what's happening. He's able to see what's happening with other people. Because I feel like he really hasn't been aware of what's going on with Dylan at all this season.
Yeah.
Because he's been so focused on Miss Casey, but then also like, I like Kelly. Brr, brr, brr. So like, I think he's finally opening up and is like, wait a minute, what is going on over here? Because I don't know if Mark finds out. I don't think he's going to have a bad reaction if he finds out that Dylan's been getting visits from his wife. But I think Mark's smart enough where he's going to figure out a way to use that.
Okay.
I don't know how, whether it's going to be any Mark or outie Mark, but I feel like if he were to find out, it would open up like more possibilities of just more connections being made.
Yeah, I could see that. I could totally see that. Anything?
To that point, I yes, kind of. Oh my gosh, I do feel like he is gonna use it against Dylan.
You think he's gonna have a bad reaction when he finds out?
I do. I don't think it's gonna be like bad. I don't think Mark's capable of like a sort of off-putting bad reaction, but I do think that at some point he's gonna realize that a lot of this is on him. and like these little things that like they're getting, I think like he will use it. I don't know. I also see with how things have been going with like losing Irv and now like this whole like no trust with Helly and everything. I kind of see this group slowly I don't want to say falling apart, but we're in like the first time where it seems like they're not connected like they've always been. And I can just kind of see now something happening where it causes a rift, and that's like right now one of the biggest things I feel like that could lead to that. Yeah,
I think that there's a lot of cracks in the foundation now.
Yeah.
And I think that in the beginning of the season, there was kind of there was that feeling of camaraderie that they all experienced something together and they all wanted to figure something out together. And now Irv's gone. And then I think there's going to be an aspect of Mark that's not going to have the same trust towards Dylan the same way that he doesn't towards Helly, obviously, now, because he's going to be like, well, you never gave me that information, dude. Like, I've been pretty upfront with everybody about everything.
Yeah.
So I can see that. Yeah.
Plus with Mark now, I feel like this was like when we brought this up last episode too, but like we really got to see this more in and out with Mark, and I feel like that's gonna play such a role now in this. And we kind of saw a little bit of that at the end of this episode. I don't want to jump too quick to that moment, but like clearly his perception of things is going to be a little bit off with this. And like there was a moment where like I forget her name, the woman that's helping him, his Audi version. But there was a moment where like she was saying something, and it was like very similar to what his wife was saying to him when he was on the inside. So like clearly we're maybe starting to see the start of like these things get switched, and I don't know, I feel like that could also play a role now in all of this and his confusion with things and maybe not even trusting himself at times. I think that's going to play a big role in that rift as well.
Yeah, because we're now going to fully see him being reintegrated and how it's like lines are being blurred, because that was something in the last episode I was like, so is he fully already reintegrated?
Yeah,
and we just like can't tell, and there's no question. But from what he says is it's not just like a snap of the finger, oh, they're one person, it's going to take a little while. And he even asked what's her name, Ragabi, right?
I got you. Yeah.
He says, he's like, when can we do it again? And she's like, no, we need another day.
He's getting sick too because of it.
He's getting sick. He has to drink those like weird whatever yellow
chalky.
It didn't look good. And so like I think it's also going to start being problematic of seeing him being reintegrated, and is he going to be able to cover it up? Or like is there no control over really being covered up, and is he just going to become like who was the guy that from the first season that got reintegrated?
I forget the character name, but his friend, the one that was initially there with him, Irving, and Dylan.
So I think that's gonna be just taking up more space for like Mark's storyline.
Petey,
that is it. You're right. But no, there's all. I mean, yeah. By the end of the episode, we start to, like you said, Liz, we're blurring the lines now of like what is to come with him. One character now that we don't have to blur the lines with anymore because he's been kicked from being an innie is Irv, and we get the moment that we've been waiting to discuss.
I love it.
Irving and Bert reuniting. We get a little bit before that of Irving kind of gathering all his void pictures. I don't really know what to call it. It's just like this black
hallway.
Void. Yeah, like everything, just kind of what he had been painting, and he makes this call. Now we still don't know, correct? We don't know who he's making these calls to. We don't know. I have a theory. I have no support of the theory.
Okay. What's your theory?
I think it's Cobel. That is my theory. I have no idea on why. I have no idea on how.
Just because she needs to come back in somehow.
I just don't understand who else it could be that would be, like, they're not going to introduce a new character. The only other person it could maybe be is Persephone, I think.
Okay. So I have another theory.
You think it's Ragabi?
I don't hate your Cobel one. I just don't.
Yeah, I guess that wouldn't really make sense.
I just don't know, because I feel like we probably would have seen some relation already. A part of me thinks it is Ragabi, and maybe Irving has been reintegrated this whole time. Because on the phone call,
that'd be kind of crazy.
On the phone call, he says he's like, they like let me go. I don't know. I think he says I don't know why. Maybe because they found out what my innie was doing.
Yeah.
So a part of me is like, maybe he was integrated the whole, or I don't know, maybe he started getting integrated at a certain point. It's either that or the Cobel thing. But I just don't see how, like, why would Cobel be teaming up with somebody on the outside if she was trying to get her job back?
Yeah, so maybe, no, I'm probably off on that.
But I could see it.
I have like an even crazier theory right now, but I don't even want to put it out there.
I want to hear it.
I don't want to put it out there. I think it's too far-fetched.
It's too wild?
I think it's too wild.
Okay. You don't have to. You don't have to share.
I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait a week on it.
So part of me thinks he's integrated. Which then a part of me is like, and the interesting thing is how they said for Bert, now that we're getting into their like whole interaction with each other, which I loved that scene.
It's
and I love that they're going to have dinner together and it's going to be so good. Like a part of me is like, they're going to clearly talk about Lumon and just everything. Bert's character, they made it seem like he was retiring in the first season.
Yeah, and they fired him.
And they really fired him because of their relationship.
That's another part of the reason why I feel like he might not be reintegrated though, unless Irving is a great actor, like, which is possible, I guess. But even he's like, I would have relations with you. Like, he was like also confused by that. Like, he was so thrown off by the fact that would be something. But again, he could just be acting. Like, he could just be.
What are your thoughts, Michael? You're giving us faces over there.
I'm really starting to agree with your theory. I think that he might have been integrated, actually, just because I feel like it's all gonna then play into like this whole like note and like his fascination with the hallway, and like we had like this weird moment in the very beginning of this episode where you saw like some guy walk down the actual hallway that they've been like referencing. I think
we haven't even talked about that. Who is that mysterious man?
Right, like
that's always in the background of shots. You're talking about?
No, in the opening sequence of this episode.
Okay,
they're in the art department, the like drawing.
Oh yes, with the dentist
and it's
stuff.
The random man like whistling, and then he gets something, and he goes down the hallway. Who is it?
And the girls looked terrified.
Terrified.
When they
Nobody spoke. It was just him creepily whistling.
I have nothing on that.
So keep going. Keep going.
Yeah, I don't. So, trying to think. Where did I leave off?
We were talking Irving being reintegrated.
That's right. So I really can see that happening with this whole integration thing. There was something like very specific I was gonna say. I lost my train of thought. It'll come back to me.
You're talking about the note from him and the interaction with Bert.
That's right. So I do feel like now that we have like these little pieces coming together with Irv, I do think that it makes sense, knowing that I'm really drawn to that note saying like from dad. I really do think that there's some sort of family connection going on here, and that makes me think maybe even like the phone calls isn't someone we know already. It could be someone new, because there's still so much with Irv that we like don't know.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I don't know. I just feel like all of these things are starting to become connected, and I feel like it would only make sense for him to be integrated. I wouldn't even be surprised, as crazy as it sounds, if he was integrated in like the first season.
I agree, because how else is he drawing these drawings and there's like overlap between his innie and outie?
Yeah.
And then even in the first season, we see like when he's kind of like dozing off, he's having these like dreams or fantasies of like the black, like, what is it, tar coming onto his desk.
Yeah.
So it's like, why is he having these like daydreams almost?
He also, I don't know, like this was a little thing that I noticed, and it might have nothing to do with it, but just kind of playing into the fact that like Irv's been there for so long. Like his he worked there, like it says on the banner, he worked there for I think like 12 or 16 years. Like he's been there for a long time. So it's like, how much does he know?
Yeah.
He's been through so many different generations of Egans. Like
he's also ex-military on the outside. So what if he is like a part of a whole thing to like take down Lumon?
There's a lot.
There's a lot of thoughts, guys. Irving is
things.
Key. He is like fully the key, I feel like.
Yeah.
I'm still gonna hold off on my far-fetched theory, but
I
love to
wanna
know
hear
it.
it.
I just don't know. I don't feel confident enough in it yet, because I need to kind of see.
Well, marinate on it.
I'm gonna marinate on it. I'm gonna let it sit.
The other thing that I think is making this season just really suspenseful too is the fact that we have this element of Cold Harbor just like
looming
over all
and
of
it's
us.
getting closer. What is it, 86% by the end of the
I
episode?
think they said 86% right now, and we see him
Well, it was
working
80.
on
It was 81%, and then by the end of the episode, I think it said 85, and then it moves to 86.
because we saw him working on it at the end of the day. So now it's the question of, does Cold Harbor finish before any of these questions are answered? And my guess is yes. I think Cold Harbor is going to be finished before any of our answers are confirmed, and then all hell's gonna break loose.
Yeah, I mean, so this is episode 5. We still have half a season, right?
Yeah,
10
we
episodes.
still have
You
5
said? We have 5
episodes.
episodes.
Or how mad would you guys be if they end the season on like Cold Harbor 100%?
That's what I.
And then you have to wait till next season.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Maybe that's kind of what I was thinking, but I feel like there's too much time left.
There's 5 episodes.
I would be very surprised. And it's like they're not going to go on another Ortbo. We know that.
No,
That's not
it went
happening.
really bad.
But we could get a whole episode on the Audis again.
I think we need one. We haven't seen
Yeah.
Cobel in 2 episodes now.
Yeah, I mean, she's probably going to show up in episode 6.
We got
I'd
a
have
little
to
bit
guess.
of
Persephone and her husband.
we got a little bit of them, but not like a ton or anything new. It's just that he's really
into writing this for
into
Lumon.
writing
His
this
character's hilarious.
propaganda.
Rickon,
Rickon.
another great name.
Rickon.
The names in this show are crazy, by the way. But yeah, I feel like we've covered pretty much everything.
We did, I think so.
I mean, it's a great episode. Really enjoyed it. Did you have anything else at the end? But I mean, we're enjoying the show very much so. I mean, it's one of my favorite shows on TV. It was my favorite show when it debuted in 2022. It's great that this is like another show that we get started in January. Like, to start the year on such a strong note with the show is awesome. So we hope you guys are enjoying listening to us talk about it. Hopefully you guys are enjoying our theory talks. Let us know some of your theories in the comments. Let us know some of your thoughts on the episode. Definitely give this video a like if you guys can, and subscribe to us here at the Culture Wave Media Network. We're not only covering Severance, but right after this recording, Liz and I are covering the first episode of season 3 of The White Lotus. A lot of things coming up in terms of movies. The Monkey is coming, Mickey 17, that we're going to cover on here. Also, Invincible's being covered on the channel right now. There's a lot of stuff that we're covering, so please check all that out. And if you want to follow us on our social media and see some of our other stuff, you guys can look at all the stuff below me right now in the video and in the YouTube description. We're on TikTok, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're Threads, we're Instagram, everywhere. So please check that stuff out if you guys can, and share this with your friends and family. Just signing off, I am Darian Scalamoni.
I am Liz Seiko.
I'm Michael Peniston.
And we'll see you guys next time.
This is The Culture.